Okay, so next up we have Jim Broadbent, who we know played Professor Diggory Kirk in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. He's done work on at least one of the Indiana Jones films. One of his most notable roles is, of course, in Harry Potter. He was in The Half-Blood Prince and both parts of Deathly Hallows, where he played Professor Slughorn. He's also been in The Iron Lady, Bridget Jones' Baby, and of course he had some sort of major role in Game of Thrones. Okay, so here we have Elizabeth Hawthorne, who played Mrs. Macready in the first film. She's been in a TV film called Filthy Rich, and she's also done work on one of the Underworld films. I think it's Rise of the Lycans. But yeah, other than that, I haven't really seen her in anything else, but they're the two that I know that she's worked on. Okay, so here we have James Cosmo, who we know as playing Father Christmas in Lion, Witch and Wardrobe. He's been in quite a few things. He's been in a film called The Seeker, The Dark is Rising, alongside Alexander Ludwig. He's also worked on Ben-Hur, Trainspotting 2, and one of his major roles to date is, of course, on Game of Thrones. I'm not sure if he's currently still in Game of Thrones. Also, for you American viewers, James Cosmo was also on a TV series called Celebrity Big Brother, that obviously shows in the UK, and I think he was on the 2017 version, and he finished in 4th place. Okay, so next up we have Michael Madsen, who did the voice of Morgrim in the first film. He's worked on a couple of things. He's been in at least one of the Scary Movie films, and he's also worked on The Hateful Eight. But he's mainly been doing voice work, particularly for video games. He's been in he's done voices for some of the Call of Duty games and some of the Dishonored games. Okay, so next up we have Patrick Paul Cake, who obviously played Orias. He was the centaur that basically stood with Peter before the Battle of Baruni. He's like Aslan's second in command, basically. The actor has done a couple of things. He's worked on a film called 30 Days of Night, and he's also worked on some of the Power Rangers films. But other than that, I couldn't really find much else that he'd worked on. Okay, so next up we've got Shane Rangy. I can't pronounce his name. But yeah, basically in Narnia he played the General Atmin in Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. I think he was like the General Minotaur. In Prince Caspian he played the werewolf, and then he played another, like a good Minotaur in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And yeah, since his Narnia days he's been in the Hobbit films. Lucky! I don't think people really want to see that, Lucky. Anyway, he's been in the Hobbit films, and he's also been in Pacific Rim Uprising, but I haven't really seen him in anything else that he's done recently. Right, so the next actor, according to the cast list, was Maurice Cupton. Now, I can't seem to find any images of him, and I can't find any other information about him, but apparently he played a train guard. Now, the only person on the film that I can possibly see being him is when the parents is set off, and you can see like there's a train guard and there's a woman stood next to him. I'm assuming that's Maurice Cupton. I have no idea. I can't seem to find any images or any information about him, but apparently he played a train guard. Now here we have Judy McIntosh, who played Helen Pevensey, so the Pevensey's mother, in sort of the opening of the movie. She's done a couple of things. She's been in Bridge to Terabithia. I can't remember her all in Bridge to Terabithia. But yeah, she's also been in Girl Girls, which was a TV film. And she's been in a short called Damien in 2014. But other than that, I haven't really seen her in anything else. So next up we have Rupert Everett, who he voiced the good fox that the Pevenses and the Beavers run into on their journey to Aslan. Well, he's done quite a few films. He's been in the Shrek franchise. I believe he voiced Prince Charming. He's also been in Stardust, which I don't remember him being in Stardust. He's also worked on both the Saint Trinian films, and he's also been in, the most recent thing I've seen him in is The Musketeers. Now this here is an actor called Cameron Rhodes, And according to the cast list, he voiced the Griffin. Now I'm assuming it's the Griffin that told Peter that, you know, the White Witch's army is approaching and there's too many of them, basically. I'm assuming that's the Griffin that he voiced. But yeah, as any more acting work, he's worked on some of the Power Rangers films, but that's literally all I could find on the internet. Now, I do apologise for the picture, but the next person is called Philip Stever. I'm sorry for my pronunciation, guys. But basically he was the Narnia producer, and he did have a cameo. He did the voice of Philip the Horse. Now, if you don't remember who Philip the Horse is, he was when it showed Peter and Edmund sort of practicing the sword fighting, right, of course, riding on the horses, and Mr. Beaver comes up to him, and Edmund says, you know, "Whoa, horsey," and the horse turns around and says, "My name is Philip." Yeah, that's basically his role. He's also, well, apparently, producer-wise, he's also worked on Oz, the Great and Powerful, and Saving Mr. Banks, but I couldn't really find much else. Okay, so next, moving on to the Prince Caspian list now. Of course, we have Ben Barnes as Caspian the 10th. He's been quite busy since his Narnian days. I know he was in a film called Dorian Gray. He's also been in Seventh Son, Sons of Liberty, and the most recent thing that he's been in is a series called Westworld, which is apparently doing quite well. Now here we have Sagargo Castellito. Again, apologies for my pronunciation, but he played, obviously, Miraz, Caspian's uncle. Since his nanny days, he's been in quite a few things, but a lot of them, because he's an Italian actor, a lot of the films and that he's been in, I haven't really heard of, but I've heard of a few. He's been in a film called Italians. He's been in another film called Bets and Wedding Dresses, and he's also been in two other films called Raise Your Head and Twice Born. But because he's Italian, he hasn't done many sort of UK British films, so I haven't really heard of anything that he's really been in. Okay, so the next actor is Pier Francesco Favivo. Again, sorry for the pronunciation. He played General Gozal. He apparently he's been in a couple of British films. He's been in Angels and Demons, World War Z, and My Cousin Rachel, from what I could find. So next up we have Damien Alcazar, who played Sir Caspian. Again, haven't really heard of anything recent that he's been in, although he's been in a film called Chico Grande, Garcia and El Dande, which is a TV series. Other than that, I haven't really heard of anything that he's been in. Okay, so the next actor is Vincent Grass, who played Dr. Cornelius. He's mainly done work. He hasn't really been acting since his nanny days. He's mainly been doing voice work on some video games. These include Assassin's Creed 2, Watch Dogs, and Final Fantasy. Now here we have Alicia Bonachero, who played Pruma Prismia, so Caspian's auntie / Miraz's wife. She's been in a couple, mainly TV, but she's been in a TV series called Hospital Central, and she's also been in a TV series called Isabel. I hope you can see the picture, but the next actor is called Simon Andre, and it's not Andrew, it's with a U on the end. But he played a character called Lord Scythley. And apparently the actor he's done two things that I know of, called The Way and The Cold Light of Day. So next up we have Pendrag Bijep. Again, apologies for the pronunciation. But the only thing that I've heard him in, well, I've heard of him in two things. One of them is called Ironclad Blood for Battle. But I best know him as playing Igor Karkaroff in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I haven't really heard of anything else that he's been in. Now for the next actor, I'm hoping I've got a right picture up of him, but his name is David Bowles, and he played Lord Gregor. I forgot to mention the last actor played Lord Donnan, but these are all basically the lords in Miraz's court. But yeah, this guy played Lord Gregorior, and he's apparently worked on Underworld, Blood Wars, and he's been in a TV series called Sign of the Horse. But other than that, I haven't heard of him in anything else. Again, hoping I've got a right picture, but apparently this is June Diego Montoya, and he played Lord Montoya. He's been in a film called There Be Dragons, but he's mainly just done stunt work since Narnia. He's done stunts on both The Prince of Persia, the Disney film, and Taken 3. So next up we have Peter Dinklage, who of course played Trumpkin. He's done a lot of films as well since his Narnia days. He's been in the Avengers films. He, of course, has got a major part in Game of Thrones. Again, I'm not sure if he's currently still in Game of Thrones, but he has had a major part before. He's also been in both the Angry Birds and the Pixels films, as well as he has done work on X-Men. I think it was the Days of Future Past that I saw him in. I'm not sure if he's been in any other X-Men films. And he's also done voice work on the Destiny games.